focus here just for 5 to 10 minutes, not more than that. Okay, so please be attentive and listen to me. इसको बंद कर दो. अभी जो हमने करा इसका पर्पस क्या है? How do we use this, okay, in our life, particularly to find out the cost of debt. Because our job was to find out the cost of debt, but we move on to the investment. Should we invest or not? Okay, but that was not the main idea of learning. The idea of learning was how to calculate the cost of debt of a company. What is the current cost of debt? Okay, now what will happen is that for those companies, who have taken loan or who have issued bonds in the market, those companies who have issued bonds in the market and their bonds are listed in the stock exchange, okay, you can arrive at a cost of debt very easily. But unfortunately, in India, there are very few companies whose bonds are listed in the stock exchange. But you can always find the cost of debt of, Apple, cost of debt of Facebook, cost of debt of Walmart very easily because all those bonds are listed on the stock exchange. But India, the cost of the bonds, maybe Reliance bond is listed, maybe one or two more companies, okay, very few companies. Of course, there are lots of bonds which are listed. Fine, it's not. But if you think about the main companies, their bonds are not so easily listed in the stock exchange. But there are many companies, there are about hundreds of companies whose bonds are listed in the stock. Our bond market is not very deep compared to the America and the Europe. Okay, so we are still, in the stage where, the companies who are issuing bonds, they're getting themselves listed. They are not all the companies, okay, fine. So the bond has to be marketable. That means it should be listed in the stock exchange. Then only you can calculate the cost of debt. Otherwise, you do the cost of debt by way of the credit rating given to the company. So you take the risk-free rate and add the spread. You will arrive at the cost of debt. It's very simple. Okay. A company which is a AAA rated company, so the cost of debt will be what? The risk-free rate plus 0.6% more spread. So you say for Reliance, it will be around 6.5% will be the cost of debt or 6.6%. Okay. If suppose risk-free rate is 6% and Reliance is AAA rated, that means cost of the debt for Reliance is 6.6%. अगर आज 6% है और 0.6% डिफॉल्ट स्प्रेड है तो just add 0.6. Okay. If the company is not listed, go for the synthetic rating. Look at the interest coverage ratio and see what will be the cost of debt of the company. Is that okay? The third category is the companies whose bonds are listed in the stock exchange. So for that, you find out the price at what the bonds are selling and calculate the YTM. So the YTM is the rate of interest at which you should be taking the cost of debt. ये जो आ रहा है यहाँ पर price, that is the cost of the debt. Suppose, for example, this bond was not trading at this thing. This bond was trading at say 105. Then what will be the cost of this thing? Okay, so I'll do that later on. So there are three categories through which we can find the cost of debt. तीन category कौन सी हैं याशिका? पहला, हाँ, पहला synthetic rating. First is synthetic rating. Synthetic rating applies to which companies? कौन सी company जिसका synthetic rating यूज करोगे आप? कौन सी company है? हाँ, which are not listed in the stock exchange, whose bonds are not listed in the stock exchange. Okay, fine. And we don't have credit rating. Fine. So only those companies will use the synthetic rating who has not got Jensen rating. Or whose bonds are not listed. Only one. Second category. Who are the bonds lender, they are listed in the stock exchange. Then go to the, now what is the step? Go to the bond, go to the bond market, go to the stock exchange and find out what is the price of the bond is set. Bond कितने का बिक रहा है and do this calculation. Fine. Calculate YT. Calculate YT. The process that is mathematics. So you will have the cost of debt. ये कौन सी category से के लिए? Which category of companies? Listed company. The companies which are listed. Okay, actually I moved out because I'm not using my microphone. So there are three kinds of way to find the cost of debt. One is synthetic rating applicable to companies which are not got themselves rated and whose bonds are not listed in the stock exchange. Second, those who are listed in the stock exchange, okay, then we just see what we do. YTM. See, first of all, we go to the stock exchange and find out what is the price of the bond of that company. Okay, fine. And what is the maturity period? So put that into an Excel sheet, okay, and calculate what is the YTM you're getting. Now, in the stock exchange, you will get the YTM already published. आपको कैलकुलेट करने की जरूरत नहीं होगी, YTM भी आ जाता है. But you can check this YTM by this formula. आपको सिर्फ बॉन्ड प्राइसेस देखना है और YTM देखना है. तो YTM becomes an important. So YTM which is given by the stock exchange will be the price at which the cost of debt should be that. Okay. Third category. The companies which are rated by the credit rating agencies. Okay. Fine. And whose bonds are not listed. So what do? Take the risk-free rate and apply the rating. Okay. Add interest-free rate plus the spread. You will get the cost of debt. Is that okay? Just abhi karte hain. Don't we will talk about that. Okay. Inflation is already built in everything. Is that okay? Now, before we move on to that and come to his question, we'll address his question also. Just hold on. All the interest rate which are there in the market, they are actually inflation adjusted. Agar aap, suppose you go to the bank and you take a fixed deposit from the bank is going to pay you 7%. So what the bank says, if the inflation rate is 5%, they're going to give you 7%. Then only you're going to invest in a fixed deposit. Suppose the inflation rate is 2% or 5%, then the banks are giving you 7%. So that means they're giving 2%. Your real rate of interest is 2%. Every year you are earning $7. 5 rupees is inflation and 2 rupees is the extra. You're beating the inflation by 2% every year. So all the interest rates which are there in the market, they are taken care of the inflation. If the inflation is 10%, then the fixed deposit rate will go up more than 10%. So you may get 12% from the bank because the banks are not going to give you 10%. Otherwise, you're not going to go to the bank and deposit your money. Because if you deposit money, you're going to lose money, isn't it? So the interest rates are taken care of the interest rates. Okay, like suppose in America, the interest rates have gone up to around 4%. The government yield there is close to about 5%. Earlier it used to be 2% when the inflation rate was just 0.5%. Because America में inflation नहीं होती थी, 0%, 1%. The government bonds there were selling at 2%. Now the inflation has gone up after the Ukraine war and after the COVID. The inflation rates have gone up. So the government bonds in America have also touched close to about 5%. India is about 6.5%. We have seen earlier there used to be a big difference between India bond rate and the UK or USA bond rate. Okay, so bond rates take care of the inflation.